Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, June 23rd, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at Pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Atlanta Braves taking on the Cincinnati Reds. A.J. Smith-Shawver and Luke Weaver are your starters. Got to give credit to these Cincinnati Reds for an 11-game win streak. It's never easy to win 11 games in Major League Baseball or any professional sport. Sure, the teams that the Reds played along the way, not the best. The Royals, the Rockies, the Cardinals have been struggling. The Houston Astros were at the bottom of their rotation, the starting rotation during that series, and they were without Yordan Alvarez. But still, 11 wins is very, very impressive. And, some people are saying, well, now they're playing the Braves. This is their chance to really prove it and show that this is the real deal. I don't think so. I mean, the Reds are in first place in the division. This is a very good Braves team. I do think that the Braves are going to win this game. And I do like their chances in the series overall. But it doesn't mean Cincinnati can't go on to win the division later this season, make some moves at the trade deadline, become buyers at the deadline. But, in this matchup, I just think it's a mismatch in the starting rotation, the starting matchup, the bullpen, and the lineup. You got an Atlanta Braves lineup that's crushing right-handed pitchers right now, facing a starter in Luke Weaver, who's got a 6.47 ERA this season and gives up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of home runs. His strikeout numbers are going down as of late, which is a big concern for me. Like I said, Atlanta crushing the ball against righties, number one in OPS, number one in isolated power in the last 30 days. A.J. Smith-Shawver is a young pitcher, could struggle in this game at Great American Ballpark, a very hitter-friendly ballpark, but I do think his bats and the bullpen are going to back him up in the end. So give me the Atlanta Braves on the money line on the road. Next up, it's the Kansas City Royals taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Zack Greinke and Zach Eflin are your starters. We know Greinke is really tough to back when he's pitching away from Kauffman Stadium. When you look at the numbers this year, the home and road splits. On the road, Greinke's got a 6.15 ERA in 33 2/3 innings. The Rays are a very tough lineup. I do expect Greinke to struggle in this one. And Zach Eflin's just been so good at Tropicana Field this season. Similar to Greinke, he struggled on the road, but at home, 43 2/3 innings, a 7-0 record with a 1.85 ERA. Against one of the worst lineups in baseball, I got to take the Tampa Bay Rays on the run line and think about laying 2.5 runs in this one as well. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Detroit Tigers. Kenta Maeda and Joey Wentz are your starters. Kenta Maeda's first start back since April 26th, so basically 2 months ago. And, he was struggling. He was 0-4 with a 9 ERA. His last start before the injury, 3 innings, 11 hits, and 10 earned runs against the Yankees. There's a lot of uncertainty in his game going into the start. He pitched well in the rehab outings, and he's, had a nice career at the major league level. But I just don't know what we're going to get from Maeda in this game, and probably not going to go too deep in this ball game in his first game back from the injury. So Joey Wentz on the other side, he pitched really well against these Twins back on June 17th. I know it's not easy facing the same team twice, same lineup twice in 2 starts, but Joey Wentz was dominant in that outing. 6 innings, 2 runs, and 9 strikeouts. And those 2 runs, I think, were just unfortunate. They were kind of dribblers through the infield that got through. And other than that, it was just almost a perfect outing from Joey Wentz. Only 1 walk and only 2 base hits, no home runs, like I mentioned. So I think Wentz, he's been in much better formats of late his last 2 games now. 10 1/3 innings, only 4 earned runs with 13 strikeouts. Facing a Twins team that strikes out quite a bit and doesn't really have the best numbers against lefties this year, I think Wentz can put together a decent outing with the Tigers at home. I think there's some value here with the home side. So give me the Detroit Tigers on the money line at Comerica Park. Miami Marlins hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to see Luis Ortiz and Jesus Luzardo on the mound in this one. And Jesus Luzardo has been much better at Lone Depot Park than he has on the road this year. He's 2-2 with a 3.04 ERA and 47 1/3 innings of work with 55 strikeouts at home. Facing a Pittsburgh Pirates team and struggling against lefties as of late, I do expect Luzardo to pitch well. Luis Ortiz on the other side has been good in the role that he's had. 37 innings of work and a 4.3 ERA. You'll take that if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates. But we do expect some regression in his future as, a 6.82 expected ERA, a 5.56 FIP. He hasn't been as good as his ERA may suggest. Walks a lot of guys, gives up some home runs, and doesn't really have the best strikeout stuff to go with it. So I do worry about Ortiz here and going forward. I like the Marlins in this one on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, it's the New York Mets taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Taijuan Walker and Kodai Senga are your starters. Both of these pitchers faced the opposition not too long ago. Taijuan Walker against the Mets on June 1st. It was 4 innings, 3 runs, and a home run, 3 walks to go with it. Really wasn't one of his best outings of the season. Kodai Senga, on the other hand, had a really good game against these Philadelphia Phillies. 7 innings of one-hit baseball with 9 strikeouts, no earned runs, and no walks. It was probably his best start of the season. And, I do think Senga could pitch well in this one. I do worry about Taijuan Walker, somebody that's been really inconsistent in terms of missing bats, doesn't really strike out a ton of guys overall this year. The Mets do a good job at limiting strikeouts. Their offense has actually turned it on a little bit as of late. We saw in that Cardinals and Astros series, the Mets offense did pretty well. So I like their chances against Walker. I think Senga's good enough in this one. Give me the New York Mets at a really good price on the money line on the road. Next up, it's the Seattle Mariners taking on the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to see Logan Gilbert and Kyle Gibson on the mound in this one. Kyle Gibson's back-to-back quality starts against the Royals and Cubs, and he's pitched well at Camden Yards this season. 4-2 with a 3.53 ERA and 35 2/3 innings against opposing teams at Camden Yards. And, Logan Gilbert has just not been the best as of late. I'm a little bit worried about his game. His last 8 1/3 innings, giving up 14 base hits and 8 earned runs, 9 total runs, 3 home runs in those 2 starts as well. Is really concerning for me. He's not really striking out a ton of batters recently. The walks were piling up in his last outing against the White Sox. Back-to-back games now that the Mariners have lost on the money line. 4 Gilbert and 3 of the last 4. I can't trust him in this game. Give me the Baltimore Orioles on the money line at Camden Yards. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the New York Yankees. Dane Dunning and Clark Schmidt are your starters. I could see Clark Schmidt pitching a lot better than he did the first time he faced these Rangers a long time ago. It was back at the beginning of the season on April 28th. Gave up 5 earned runs and 10 base hits in 5 innings of work. But honestly, he had 8 strikeouts in that game. He only gave up 1 home run. It really wasn't as bad of an outing as the final line may have said. And since then, he's been a much sharper pitcher. In the month of May, he had a 3.52 ERA. In the month of June so far, 3.38. Now, I don't love that the strikeout numbers have kind of taken a pretty big dip in the last 3 starts, only 8 Ks in 16 innings. But his ground ball to fly ball ratio is pretty solid this year, and I do think he'll pitch well. But the question is it going to be good enough for the Yankees to win this ballgame with how bad their offense is struggling? I just don't think so. I don't think we can trust this Yankees lineup, especially against opposing teams like the Rangers, who have consistently crushed the baseball against right-handed pitchers this season. And, Dane Dunning, I may have some regression concerns in his game going forward, but he's still pitching well this year, especially on the road, a 2.43 ERA and about 30 innings of work away from Globe Life Field. I think that this is going to be a pretty low-scoring game, probably a close game. I still like the Rangers in the end. Give me the Texas Rangers on the money line. Next up, it's the Oakland Athletics taking on the Toronto Blue Jays with Chris Bassett and James Caprillion on the mound. Chris Bassett's been so much better at Rogers Center this season, a 131 opponent's batting average and a 2.18 ERA compared to on the road, a 5.89 ERA and a 294 opponent's batting average in similar innings, 41 innings at home, 47 on the road. I think Bassett pitches well in this game. James Caprillion, got to give him credit. He's really improved his game as of late, but he also doesn't really pitch too deep into ball games, and I don't love this Oakland A's bullpen. The Toronto Blue Jays are a very tough lineup to face as a right-handed pitcher this season, so I don't really like Caprillion or the A's bullpen in this one. Give me the Toronto Blue Jays on the run line at home. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Wade Miley and Shane Bieber on the mound in this one. Now, I know the Guardians have made improvements against left-handed pitchers in the last 30 days with their top 10 in team OPS, but their isolated power numbers are still not great against left-handers, below average at 18th ranked in baseball, and their BABIP is at 322, which is a little high. I do expect some regression as the season continues against lefties. This Guardians team last year and up until this last month this year was really struggling against southpaws, so I don't love this matchup for him offensively against Wade Miley, who's pitched well on the road. He's pitched well overall this year with a 3.28 ERA, coming off a start against the Pirates where he went 5 innings of shutout baseball. It was his first start back from injury in over a month. He pitched really well in that game. Shane Bieber's also pitched really well at Progressive Field this season. On the road, not so much, where he's at a 4.58 ERA, but at home, 4-1 with a 1.89 ERA. I do have my regression concerns in his game, but I think he'll be good enough to keep this game low scoring. Give me the under here in Milwaukee, Cleveland. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Chicago White Sox. We're going to see Brian Bayo and Lucas Giolito on the mound in this one. I like both of these pitchers in this matchup, but I do like the Red Sox bullpen and lineup more. So I'm going to take the Red Sox here on the money line. Brian Bayo, as of late, has been really sharp at 3.49 ERA overall this season. We look at his last 5 games, a lot of games where he had a quality start and went deep into the ball games. Last 2 games, 7 innings apiece against the New York Yankees, 1 run and 2 runs allowed in those 2 starts. Before that, 6 innings, 3 runs, 5 strikeouts against the Rays, a quality outing there. Before that, back on May 23rd, 7 innings, 2 runs against the Los Angeles Angels in another quality start. So I think Bello pitches well against a White Sox team that offensively is just very inconsistent. And in the last 30 days, when you look at their numbers against righties, they're below average in isolated power, and they are 29th in baseball in team OPS with a pretty steep strikeout rate at 25.1%. Now, the Red Sox are making improvements offensively the last week or so. They had a really good weekend series last week against the New York Yankees, and then they had a pretty good series, at least to start to the series, against the Twins in Minnesota, where they were scoring 19 runs in the first 2 games. We're seeing guys like Justin Turner really heated up in the last couple of weeks, and I do believe that the Red Sox will be able to get to Lucas Giolito and especially this White Sox bullpen enough for a win in the end. So give me the Red Sox on the money line on the road. Next up, it's the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Colorado Rockies. We're going to see Kyle Freeland and Patrick Sandoval on the mound, and this one, 2 lefties going. I got to take the Angels in this game. I could take them in the first 5 innings, but I also think they have the advantage in the bullpen, so I'll take them in the full game as well. And the Angels are 12th in baseball in WRC plus against lefties in the last 30 days, 4th in isolated power, and they have an 11% walk percentage, which is also top 5 in baseball in the last month. While the Rockies, they are 29th in baseball in team OPS, 30th in WRC plus. They have a 30.2% strikeout rate against lefties, dead last in the league in the last 30 days. This team has really struggled against left-handed pitchers recently and just overall this season. So although Patrick Sandoval may not be my favorite option to back, I think he's the better starter in this game. I think the Angels have the much better lineup and bullpen to go with it. So give me the Angels on the road on the money line. Next up, it's the Washington Nationals taking on the San Diego Padres. Joe Musgrove and Patrick Corbin are your starters. Joe Musgrove's strikeout stuff really wasn't working in his last game against the Tampa Bay Rays. He only had 1 strikeout through 6 innings of work against Tampa Bay. Now, it was a Padres win. Musgrove still had a quality start, and he pitched well in that game. And it's actually a pretty good experience for him, facing a team, a very good lineup like the Tampa Bay Rays that doesn't really strike out much. Now you're facing a Nationals team that doesn't really have the best offensive numbers, but they do a great job of limiting strikeouts. A 15.8% strikeout rate against righties in the last 30 days for Washington. So not the best OPS numbers or isolated power numbers, but Washington's going to be able to put the ball in play almost every at-bat. And now Joe Musgrove has experience in getting through innings without having his best strikeout stuff. So I think Musgrove will be fine in this game. I think Patrick Corbin could be in trouble, though. I think the Tampa, when you look at the San Diego Padres in the last 30 days, not many teams are better offensively against lefties in San Diego. They're number 2 in baseball in isolated power. They're number 4 in team OPS. They're number 3 in WRC plus. So they have a pretty steep walk rate. I think Patrick Corbin struggles. Don't love this Nationals bullpen. Give me the San Diego Padres on the run line at Petco Park. Next up, it's the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the San Francisco Giants. Zach Davies and Logan Webb are your starters. Both of these teams playing pretty good baseball as of late, but I do think Logan Webb is the much better starting pitcher in this matchup. I think the Giants have the better bullpen as well. So give me San Francisco on the money line. Logan Webb overall this year at Oracle Park, a 2.04 ERA and 39 2/3 innings of work. He keeps the ball on the ground. He's pitching well this year. His last start, 7 innings, a 2-run ball against the Los Angeles Dodgers. On the other side, Zach Davies has struggled more so at Chase Field, but still a 7.11 ERA on the year. His last start against the Guardians, 3 2/3 innings, 9 base hits, 9 runs, 8 of those were earned. Just can't trust him in this one. He's really struggling as of late. So give me the San Francisco Giants on the money line. And the final game for Friday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Dodgers. JP France and Emmett Sheehan are your starters in this one. How about the form that JP France is in the month of June so far? Had some tough matchups against teams like the Reds, who are surging, the Angels, and a Guardians team that's limiting strikeouts at the plate very well against right-handed pitchers. France pitched well in those 3 games, 20 1/3 innings of work, 3 quality starts, and a 2.66 ERA. I think he pitches well here against a Dodgers team that's been inconsistent against right-handed pitchers as of late. Now, the Astros are still missing Yordan Alvarez in the lineup, which is a big piece of this team offensively. But I still think there's value on Houston in this game. Facing a young starter who's only going to be making his 2nd start at the Major League level. Sheehan pitched well in that game. More than well. 6 innings of no-hit baseball, but he only had 3 strikeouts. He walked 2 batters as well. I do think the Astros could get to him for enough runs to win this game in a low-scoring affair. I like the price we're getting with Houston, getting plus money on the road. So give me the Houston Astros on the money line to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.